Hello there. Welcome into a Wednesday edition of the show. I am so glad to have you, whether you're listening on your radio, streaming the show online at extrasports1300.com, or you've downloaded the Extra Sports 1300 app to do your listening. And that app, which is free to download and free to use, is sponsored by Diversus Health, Mental Health, and well-being for all, a veritable cornucopia of sports topics coming your way over the course of the next 3 hours. And I'd love to get your thoughts. Great conversation yesterday. Hope we can do it again. 719-247-1313. You could call or text into the show. You will hear from Sean Payton about Russ, about the suspension of Dre Greenlaw, and I'm getting the sense that Sean Payton is aware of what we're saying about him in the way he's handling Bo Nix. All of that to come. But let's start with a little hockey to start the show, shall we? I told you yesterday, as the show was wrapping up, what did I say? I told you I had a bad feeling about the Avs-Utah game. This Utah team, they're a plucky bunch. They're a plucky bunch, and the Avs have some troubles against these guys. And here's what it is with Utah. Overall, they're not as skilled as the Colorado Avalanche, right? They're not nearly as good of a team. That's why it can appear odd that this Utah team gives the Avs problems, because you look at it on paper and say that they're not in the same weight class. And they're not. But here's the way you have to play the Avalanche. This is not just the most successful way. This is the way you have to play against the Colorado Avalanche. No ifs, ands, or buts. And it only depends on whether you're committed to it and whether you have the personnel to do it. You defensively, you can't sit back. You got to take the fight to them, right? Or at least stand in their way, because you back up and you try to protect your goal, and then that's when, I mean, if you saw the game-tying goal last night from Marty Necas, and Marty Necas most of the night, to be quite honest, Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar, like, you watch enough of these guys, you sit back, they'll plot their route and they'll get around you. They just will, or they'll shoot it by you. You have to put your point of attack higher up the ice. You got to put it in the neutral zone, because there's a fine line. You don't want to be, like Sergachev in the first meeting between the two teams, got a little bit too far forward and got caught, and the Avs had an on-man rush back the other way. What Utah does, and LA under Todd McClellan did this a lot. The Hurricanes, who the Avs play tomorrow, that's why last night was a good tune-up for the Hurricanes game, because the Canes play this way. You make it difficult for them to get through the neutral zone, right? You have that other blue line to protect you, right? Guys aren't going to get in behind you when you're in the neutral zone. So you got to get in the neutral zone. You got to clog it up. And then you got to go at the Avalanche. And you got to force them to dump pucks in, chase, and beat you on the forecheck, which the Avalanche can do, which Jared Bednar preaches constantly. He wants his team to dump pucks in and get on the forecheck. It's just not, I don't want to say it's not who they are. It's a style of play and a way of operating that doesn't always come naturally to the Colorado Avalanche. They have to really work at it. They really have to commit to it mentally. Okay, we're going to do this, because if they don't do that, they kind of revert back to, the free-flowing, fast skating, trying to beat guys, carrying the puck. And against a team like Utah, that's going to be less successful, and you saw that in the second period. So what Utah did was they made the Avs, gave them no other option but to dump the puck and go on the forecheck. Avs didn't do enough of that, especially in the second period. Now, here's the other part of Utah. Because, as I mentioned, there are a few teams that try to do some of that to the Colorado Avalanche. But here's the trick, the other side of it. You have to have some skill. A perfect case, not to pick on them. The New York Islanders are a great example of this. Patrick Waugh's Islanders, maybe his predecessor, who I think is now the head coach of the Kraken, they just clog the neutral zone. They try to muck it up and do all this stuff, but they present no threat going forward. Like, it's like they're trying to play to a 0-0 game and hope that there's some kind of weird bounce in overtime. With Utah, because of these young players like Logan Cooley, like Dylan Guenther, who combined for the game-winning goal 33 seconds into overtime, they have some skill. They have some speed in their own right. So they can, it's not just them trying to hold down the Avs to like this 1-0 game. They can put up some goals, and you saw that last night. I don't think the Avs have given up close to 4 goals in a game this season. But that's what Utah brings. And even if you look at it player for player, you say that Utah is not in the class of the Avalanche. But it's one of those things in sports that you run into. It's just a matchup that gives the Avalanche a little bit of trouble. And Carolina does that as well. Watch tomorrow night. But here's the thing about last night, more so than even the challenges that Utah presents. The Avs should have won that game. So early in the second period, Avs up 1-0. Gabriel Landeskog scores what appeared to be his first regular season goal in 3.5 years. It's been forever. He's beaming from ear to ear. What a moment. Just another chapter in the remarkable comeback story of Gabriel Landeskog. Utah challenges, because that's what you do. Coaches challenge all the time for offside. And they rule it offside. And it was shades of San Jose 2019 with the sticky gate. An Avs player, there's no malfunctioning gate to get to the bench or door. It was just a guy was slow getting off the ice. And when the puck was touched in the Utah zone, that Avs player was still there. So they waved it off. But the story doesn't end there, because that would have been the correct call. Because you could clearly see the Avs a little bit late getting off the ice. On replay, this very same replay, you see Dylan Guenther bring the puck over the blue line himself, which, according to the agreed-upon rules of the NHL, that waves off the offside. Utah brought that back in their zone. It's just like if they were right up against their goal and somebody on the forecheck stole the puck. That's not offside. So Dylan Guenther clearly brings the puck back in the Utah zone, at which point he loses it. Avs pick it up and score. Should have been a good goal. But the explanation from the powers that be, the officials say, oh, well, the actions of Valeri Nichushkin made him do that. Well, there's a rule on the books. Says when a defending player propels the puck out of his defending zone and the puck clearly rebounds off a defending player in the neutral zone back into the defending zone. Essentially what happened It wasn't a deflection, but he brought the puck. It's the same idea. All attacking players are eligible to play the puck. However, any action by an attacking player that causes a deflection or rebound off a defending player in the neutral zone back in the defending zone, stick check, body check, physical contact, a delayed offside shall be signaled by the linesperson. Okay. Valeri Nichushkin, at no point in that sequence, touched the puck, touched the stick, touched Dylan Guenther. He didn't even get into his aura. Valeri Nichushkin did not. He tried. He tried, but that's not the issue here. He didn't touch the puck. He didn't touch Dylan Guenther's stick. He didn't touch Dylan Guenther. So what are these things that Valeri Nichushkin did to force the puck other than pressuring the guy, which is allowed? Again, no contact. That should have been a goal and a 2-minute power play for the unsuccessful challenge. Now, given where the Avs power play is right now, I would not say it would be guaranteed to be 3-0 at that point. But you get a 2-goal lead. You get at least boss play for the next 2 minutes because Utah's a man down. And you go on from there in a game, by the way, that was decided by 1 goal in overtime. Here's the big issue here. You know me, I don't have a problem with human error. Right? These referees in every sport have a very difficult job. They're trying to do it the best of their ability. There's no fixing. There's none of this nefarious stuff going on that fans constantly complain about. But they do mess up. They do mess up on occasion because to err is human. They are held to a higher standard than most fellow members of their species. Okay? But I have no problem with that. I get frustrated by it at times, but in the end, it's okay. Here's what I have a problem with when it comes to officiating. We institute this thing where we trust the robots to help us. Right? And we slow everything down frame by frame, granular video. It looks like a Zapruder film, which I don't think is natural. It's not the way that Mother Nature intended. We're not supposed to be seeing all of these plays like that. And you know who's really not supposed to? The referees. Like, how is that fair to them? That they look bad because they miss a call. And the only way that anybody knows that is if we slow everything down frame by frame, zoom in 100x and figure it out. Okay, so I don't like the system to begin with. But here's where I really have a big issue. When we are presented with this evidence that we are not supposed to have, and the humans get the call wrong anyway, right? If we're going to use all of this stuff, and occasionally I'll yell at the clouds, but I know there's no going back. This is a part of it. We are giving technology to human beings, and we don't know how to use it correctly because the replay, super slow-mo replay, ESPN showed it over and over and over again. Valeri Nichushkin did not touch any part of Dylan Guenther or his hockey stick or the puck. So it bothers me that the referees on the ice, despite how difficult their job is, made the right call. It was not offside. And we take 20 minutes to review it. And this is, by the way, even if you're not a hockey fan, this is universal through every sport. Insert your own favorite sport here. Okay? Video replay review is one of the worst things about sports. They got it wrong. Wielding this futuristic technology, they got it wrong. And you can understand why Jared Bednar was maybe a little bit perturbed about the way everything went down.
It's a little frustrating. Like, I think our goal should have counted. Was it's not offside. They brought it in themselves, so it's a good goal. It's a big point in the game. You could go up 2. Yeah, but it was. It was a good hockey game. It was. We needed to play a full 60, and we only played 40.
And now we can lower the temperature and point out what this all is. If you're an Avs fan, you're dealing with champagne problems, first world problems. You have a wagon of a hockey team that still, even after last night, no team has beaten them in 60 minutes. Right? Dallas game goes into a shootout. Utah beats them in overtime. 1 hour, the Avs have been unbeatable. Your backup goalie was named one of the 3 best players in the league last week. Scott Wedgwood, one of NHL's 3 stars. That's your backup goalie. There are so many first world champagne sports problems going on with the Colorado Avalanche. They have maybe the best 5-on-5 unit in all the land with their top line plus Taves and Makar. Right? And they dominate. So we complain about the fact that 5-on-4, they're not scoring, which is an issue and it has to be worked out. But again, they're dominant 5-on-5. They have been unbeatable within a 60-minute window. So this is what we're left to complain about. I mean, it was wrong. I mean, everything I said stands. I'm just saying to just bring some perspective into it. If a wrongly disallowed goal, and I get with Gabriel Landeskog, there's probably a little bit more behind it with a lot of people. They wanted to see Landeskog get that goal. But I mean, for perspective, Avs just played Buffalo. You know what they were going through? Until very recently. So perspective's important, but should have been a goal. Could have changed the game. Avs could have won that game within 60 minutes. The fact that they're still unbeaten in regulation is something worth mentioning and praising them for. But Jared Bednar's reaction is exactly right. Like, he was upset about it, but then he's like, it was good. I mean, we got a point on the road. Not the worst result, but maybe that shouldn't have been the result. 719-247-1313. Take your thoughts on that if you watched that Avalanche game last night. Tomorrow will be good. Another good one with Carolina and the Colorado Avalanche. Coming up next, Sean Payton. Where should we start? Bo Nix, Dre Greenlaw, or Russ? Yep, we're going to start with Russ. Sean Payton responds to the tweet heard around the world next. The latest national keyword in the 5K a day is SCORE, SCORE. If you text that to 95819, you'll be entered to win $1,000. It's something we're doing 5 times a day, Monday through Friday. It's the 5K a day here on Extra Sports 1300. So, previously on As the World Turns, or the days of our Broncos and former Broncos lives. So let me just quick refresher. Here's what Sean Payton said on Sunday about Jackson Dart.
You know, they found a little spark with that quarterback. I was talking to John Mayer not too long ago, and I said we were hoping that change would have happened long after our game.
So many people, including Russell Wilson, thought that was a shot at the former Broncos quarterback. Yesterday, Russell Wilson did something he never does, and that's go at somebody on social media saying classless but not surprised. Didn't realize you're still bounty hunting 15 plus years later through the media. Hashtag let's ride. So now you're caught up. Here's Sean Payton on the tweet heard around the world.
The euphoria, the way that game unfolded, that was strictly about Dart. I mean, and I that was in no way, shape, or form anything that was directed at Russ. So, and I might be able to see how he might perceive that, but coming off that win and watching how he played, that wasn't any intention at all.
Okay. Believe Sean Payton if you want to. And I'm not trying to lead you in it. Sounds like maybe that is what his intention was, to praise Jackson Dart. Maybe, possibly. But here's, whether you believe Sean Payton or not, even in the midst of his answer in trying to deny that it had anything to do with Russell Wilson, he says, I get how he could perceive it that way. So it's not unfounded, the reaction from many. That's what Sean Payton is allowing within his denial, is I get how Russell Wilson might perceive it that way. And why would he get that Russell Wilson perceived it that way? Maybe because forgetting the history with Russell Wilson and Sean Payton, you are basically saying that you would have much preferred to play the other guy. Okay, so forget it's Russell Wilson. And I said this yesterday. Let's pretend Jameis Winston was the starting quarterback of the New York Giants. And then he got benched. And then Sean Payton told John Mara exactly what he told him. Could that be perceived as a slight towards Jameis Winston? They found a spark. I wish they would have made this change after we played them. That is absolutely a shot at the guy who used to be starting. And shoe on the other foot, if one of the Broncos opponents talked about, Bo Nix and said, man, we really wish that they would have not started Bo Nix until after we played them, it would sound like a shot at, I don't know who would be in that scenario, Russell Wilson or Jared Stidham. But you get my point. At face value, it's perceived as both a compliment to Jackson Dart and a slight to his predecessor. But that's not all. Right? That's not all. Now we have this history between these two gentlemen that we can look back on. And we could, if just at the next level of it, we could say Sean Payton wasn't pleased with Russell Wilson and cut him in a historic move. Like, they were so ready to move on from Russell Wilson that they took on the most dead cap money in the history of professional sport. Right? So there would be that level that would make people think that he was taking a shot at Russell Wilson, that they were so fed up they didn't even want to go into year 2. They didn't even want to finish year 1 with Russell Wilson. But then you go even deeper and you understand, and I'm sure there's something that we're missing, right, that we haven't been privy to. But let's not forget the way the Broncos went about getting rid of Russell Wilson, not just the actual act of cutting him. What they went to him in the middle of the season and tried to get him to do, to defer his injury guarantee, to basically make it easier for them to get rid of him. Russell Wilson said, I'm not doing that, and felt like that was not borderline unprofessional to ask somebody to do that when they have a minted, printed contract. And to threaten, by the way, that's the most important thing, they threatened to bench him. So there's a lot of nastiness going on here that leads everyone, like the people who are saying, like, I don't get why people are perceiving it this way. Really? Like, if you can't even acknowledge why Russell Wilson or anybody else would think that this was a shot at Russell Wilson as much as it was a compliment to Jackson Dart, then we're just not on the same wavelength and we can't engage in a dialogue. This idea, like, how could you possibly think that? The man himself thought that. Doesn't that count for something? A guy who never says anything other than the company line publicly, who is, corny to an, infinitely because of his unwillingness to say anything other than the company line and anything other than what he's supposed to say. He felt so compelled to tweet that out, so out of character for Russell Wilson. That counts for something. So it's not off base to think that maybe that's what Sean Payton was doing. If you think and after listening to that, you go, I don't think that's what Sean Payton meant. Okay, well, let's talk about why it was perceived this way. And let's talk about whether that is all on the up and up. If Sean Payton has never stepped out of bounds. Right? This is not the first time that something that Sean Payton said was perceived by the majority of people as a shot at Russell Wilson. There is a history here. There is a pattern here. So you can take Sean Payton at his word in this instance, but understand that he has not earned the benefit of the doubt when it comes to this kind of thing because of the comments he has repeatedly made that have been perceived by everybody, including clearly Russell Wilson, to be shots at him. The sack stuff. Even if you take Sean Payton at his word, it doesn't change the fact that Sean Payton hated Russell Wilson, the quarterback, and probably wasn't a huge fan of him as a person either. Right? With the people in the building and the way he conducted himself behind the scenes and all of this kind of stuff that Sean Payton tried to put the kibosh on the minute he showed up. Probably doesn't like Russell Wilson in that regard either. And given how unceremoniously he was dumped by the Denver Broncos, what the Broncos tried to do, that is a little bit beyond the pale, and threatening to bench him if he did not defer his injury guarantee. I'm sure Russell Wilson doesn't think very highly of Sean Payton either. So if you want to take him at his word, in this one instance, fine, but let's not forget all of this other stuff. Maybe it's not this one time, but it's been going on enough to lead Russell Wilson to do something that he never does, to break character in order to go back at Sean Payton. I'll take your reaction to Sean Payton's comments. 719-247-1313. His star middle linebacker is out for Sunday due to a suspension. Does he agree with the suspension of Dre Greenlaw? That's next. This week's nominees for our Extra Sports Athlete of the Week, sponsored by Blackjack Pizza and Salads. Check them out, extrasports1300.com. We got Pine Creek Tennis. We got Pikes Peak Christian Volleyball, Palmer Ridge Football, and Widefield Softball all being represented this week. Cast your vote, extrasports1300.com, and the winner will be revealed on Friday. Dre Greenlaw's appeal of his one-game suspension for chasing after and verbally threatening Brad Allen, the referee from Sunday's game, has been upheld by the NFL, and Dre Greenlaw will miss this weekend's game against the Dallas Cowboys. Sean Payton today was asked whether he had any thoughts on the suspension of Dre Greenlaw.
And they don't really matter, right? We take it, you focus on the things you can control, and then you're on to the next game.
The, crying over spilled milk type thing, next man up mentality, kind of a blend of those two idioms. But then here's Sean Payton with a little bit more on the act by Dre Greenlaw and the ensuing suspension.
It was just prior precedents, that's all. So, yeah, we were clearly in his corner with the appeal. What normally has been a fine ended up being different. So, but again, we can't control that.
So there's their argument. Dre Greenlaw could have been fined. Other instances of this, in their opinion. And one thing we do know about Sean Payton, he does the research. He gets people to do the research and tell him the research, right? Records of teams the week before they go to London, the record of teams after they get back from London, record of teams after they play a game as wild as Sunday's game was, which I don't know how small a sample size that might be. So I'll trust that the Broncos did the homework and they went to the NFL and they said, look, for something like this, you usually fine people. Why is he being suspended? That was their appeal. Not Dre Greenlaw was justified, not the talk coming from the fan base of Brad Allen, it should be fired, and all of this nonsense that's out there on social media. The Broncos' argument was simply, in the past, this is merely a fine, not a suspension, and now you're suspending him. You shouldn't be suspending him. I would have to do my own research. I mean, Sean Payton just spoke within the last hour. I've been talking to you this whole time. So I can't verify other instances. I'm sure people will, and you will see that on social media or talked about, and I'll look into it. But that's the Broncos' argument. It's not that Dre Greenlaw was justified in his actions, because he was not about being justified. Could you understand the emotion if he saw one of his teammates getting pushed out of the way by a referee? You can understand the emotion. Can't go that far. And I say yesterday, I can excuse the action, but I don't know what Dre Greenlaw said. And clearly it was enough for the NFL to say, and maybe that's what put it over the top. Maybe the NFL saw the video and said that act is a fine, and then they're getting perhaps some information from Brad Allen, the referee, saying this is what he told me, and the NFL goes, well, there's more to that. And again, not to, I don't know what was said, but the guy that was doing the talking in that scenario was in the locker room not that long after, talking about how basically he enjoys being able to inflict violence upon people without getting arrested. So, the guy runs a little bit hot. The guy's a little intense. My guess is he probably said something quite bad. If really this has been a fine, I think the Broncos have an argument. But look, let's just take it on face value. You understand why Dre Greenlaw did what he did, but it crossed the line. And the NFL clearly wants to make some sort of an example out of Dre Greenlaw, saying, guy, you can't do this. They do this all the time with suspensions. They try to make examples of people. Like, I think Sean Payton's way of talking is exactly what it should be. Like, the Broncos are probably not happy about it. They don't think he should have been suspended. But you have to stop short of like defending the guy's actions. You can't say that's okay or the referee deserved it. And once you do that, it's like, well, you kind of got to just accept it. As frustrating as that might be, and as poor timing as this is. Now, as much as I can understand the emotion, and even say if I'm the NFL that I can perhaps forgive going at the referee, there is still an alternate scenario here where Dre Greenlaw just doesn't do anything, maybe other than turn around and yell at him. You know, what the F? Dude, I don't know. He could have done nothing. Right? Even if you can understand his frustration with that official, given the way the game had went, and he's the guy pushing your teammate, I get all that. But there is still, for a multi-million-dollar athlete and a grown man, the ability to, I don't want to say turn the other cheek, but just like not go after the guy. Like, he could have done that too. He could have chosen that. He chose differently. And because he chose differently, he left himself open to this punishment by the league. And now he's going to be out against a prolific offense. One game after, for 3 quarters, a rookie quarterback and a rookie running back did almost whatever they wanted against the Denver Broncos defense. That's kind of been lost a little bit or pushed down a little bit in all of this conversation because, you know, it's about Bo. It's about the improbable nature of the win. And then we get a Greenlaw suspension, and then we get Russell Wilson tweets, and the news cycle has moved very fast. But one of the storylines from that Giants game, why in the world is a quarterback in start 4 doing that against the best defense in the NFL? And when you see what the Giants did, running the football with Cam Skattebo, utilizing their tight ends, that's something that the Dallas Cowboys can do, and probably to a greater degree than what the New York Giants can. Cowboys are a better team than the Giants. Cowboys are a much better offense than the Giants. So, yeah, it's not above Bo Nix. And there is a belief that the Broncos defense can, you know, bounce back. But Sunday is a little bit troubling given who they play this coming Sunday, isn't it? And not just the fact that the Broncos defense did not fare that well over the course of 3 quarters, but the way that the Giants attack them is a way that you saw the Colts attack the Denver Broncos, that the Chargers have attacked the Denver Broncos, and that the Dallas Cowboys will almost certainly attack the Denver Broncos. And you don't have I didn't set very high expectations for Dre Greenlaw on Sunday. Right? It's his first game back in forever. But I mean, he was there and they did all that stuff. Now you would conceivably be getting Dre Greenlaw another full week of practice and, one game in, all this kind of stuff. Could be a better version of Dre Greenlaw. That would help against some of these things that teams have been able on occasion this season to be able to exploit in the Broncos defense. So it goes back to, I guess, to an extent, good on Dre Greenlaw for having his teammates back, but also there's, a world here where you just don't lose your cool over a 150-pound man, kind of pushing your teammate, and you just celebrate the win with the boys and move on, and we're not talking about any of this stuff. Take your thoughts at 719-247-1313. Do you agree with the Dre Greenlaw suspension? And how big of an impact do you think his absence, again, will affect the Denver Broncos against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday? Coming up next, and then there's the Bo question. Sean Payton fielded quite a few of them about this offense and how to get it going in the first three quarters. You'll hear his thoughts, and also later you'll hear from the man himself, Bo Nix, here on Extra Sports 1300. Welcome in hour 2 on this Wednesday. Appreciate you watching the show or listening. I mean, I appreciate both. I just want to emphasize that we do live stream the show each and every day on our social media platforms, whether it be YouTube, X, Instagram, or Facebook. The handle is the same in all of those different places at XTRA Sports 1300. While you're there, like, subscribe. Then you don't have to worry about, is there an Eon extra? Do I spell out 1300? No, it's 1300. Just like, subscribe, follow, and then it's just there. Drop a comment. Tell your family and friends. Appreciate it. We have fun here. And I want them to join in the fun. Don't you want them to join in on the fun? Speaking of the fun, this whole idea of taking what the Broncos and specifically Bo Nix are in the fourth quarter and spreading it out among the first 3 quarters of the game. That is the big topic outside of beefs with former quarterbacks and suspensions. How do the Broncos, and more specifically Bo Nix, look like any semblance of what they did on Sunday in the fourth quarter in the other 3? Because it's something that Sean Payton says it's very, very important.
There's a sense of urgency, certainly. And I would say the one thing more concerning is us playing better in the earlier quarters, including him.
So how does one go about doing that? How can the Denver Broncos be better in the quarters 1 through 3? Here is Sean Payton on that today.
We look all the time at our sequencing, what we're calling, and if you went through each game, we went through the first half, and you looked at a number of the things that we have to clean up. I think it's more about the in-week prep. Today's practice was different. I won't get into the details, but we have to find a way to make Wednesday like Sunday.
We have to make Wednesday more like Sunday. And Bo Nix talked about this too just a little bit ago. The preparation maybe isn't where it needs to be, and that's why this team is off to a slow start, which is not what you and I discussed for most of yesterday's show. I don't know that you or I are worried about the way that the Broncos are practicing. I think it's at the very least what they're practicing in terms of plays, but ultimately it's about what Sean Payton is scripting on Sundays. Who is that script for? Who he wants Bo Nix to be or who Bo Nix is? That's really the divide that is going on right now. Is that it just looks in more and more, and Sunday was an exaggerated example of this, but you go back to Philadelphia, it was an example of this as well. It just looks like Bo Nix is a different person. Quarters 1 through 3 in the fourth quarter. He's a different quarterback. In the first part of the game, especially the first quarter, especially when the plays are scripted, it looks like it's what Sean Payton wants Bo Nix to do rather than what Bo Nix wants to do. And Sean Payton's the coach, right? So he is the ultimate authority, but as we talk about quarterbacks and developing them, and there has to be a meeting halfway here. I know what Sean Payton wants Bo Nix to be, And I think it's what Sean Payton thought Bo Nix would be, and maybe it's not what he is. And I'm not saying that Sean Payton should give up the pursuit of what he hopes Bo Nix will be as a quarterback. But in the meantime, maybe lean a little bit more into what Bo Nix does well. Because even Sean Payton will acknowledge it's an advantage when the Denver Broncos run their quarterback.
It obviously is a big plus. When you can have some design. We had the third down. It wasn't a third down, but if you remember New Orleans a year ago, we were 3rd and 1, and we kind of got into a similar formation and sent the back opposite the QB and ran a crack. That was a 3rd and 1 call in New Orleans. We knew we were getting man. What I hated was there was a clock issue. We had already showed them the formation, and then you're thinking, all right, are we going to get the same look? I don't know what the clock issue was, but they stopped it, and so we stayed with it, and we still got the same look, and it ended up working out. Ended up scoring a touchdown.
Okay, but you're saying there, you're like that one. Remember that one time? Yeah, that's kind of the problem here. That's kind of what we're saying. Should it be that one time you called a design run for Bo Nix? Or should it be more times? Like even in Sean Payton's answer, he's essentially making the point that we were discussing yesterday. That the designed runs are too few and far between. Or more accurately, not too few and far between, they don't exist for the most part until Sean Payton has no other choice, because he's got to do the most tried and true way to get down the field. That's the mentality that I think people are asking Sean Payton to have all the time. Bo Nix keeps bringing up, and he brought up this phrase again today, by any means necessary. I think that's the mentality, that's the mantra that Broncos fans would like Sean Payton to have. Whatever works, do it. And it just doesn't seem right now that what Sean Payton wants to work or thinks will work is working, and what Bo Nix likes is working. So maybe less of what Sean wants, more of what Bo Nix wants. And one of the plays, if we could do kind of a swap here, say in exchange, because the question is, all right, you want the Broncos to run Bo Nix more. There are only so many plays in the game. Fair enough. The plays that I think people will trade happily for more Bo Nix designed runs are the screens that the Broncos are trying to run very early in games. Somebody asked Sean about that, and it went about as well as you would expect. Somebody asking that question to Sean Payton went.
Big plays by Tyler.
Oh, wait, hang on. Now do it.
When you look back at the screen game, especially early, it seemed a little bit touching. Is that
Yeah, and then there were some big ones.
Yeah.
Did you see those?
Yep.
How many? How many big ones? No, how many big screens?
Two,
No,
three,
not enough. Go watch it. Obviously, there's some looks that we didn't block exactly how we wanted to, but we ended up with some big plays by Tyler, Ingram. Bidet had a couple, so I'm not on the screen count. Next question.
Do you have any relationship with Brian Schott?
Next question. And they did hit a few of them. And to be fair, not every time will a design Bo Nix run work. And it's actually the delicate balance that Sean Payton is being asked to strike here. And I think you know that Sean Payton's job is not easy. I think we all acknowledge that, and we all understand this isn't Madden. Bo Nix is not Tecmo Bowl Bo Jackson. Teams learn, teams anticipate, and the more you utilize Bo Nix's legs, the more and more teams are going to double down on stopping him, which would then, in theory, make Bo Nix running the football less effective. I think we can all acknowledge that. All that is being asked of Sean Payton is a balance, because it seems like he'll go back to the well of the screen game repeatedly and time again. And I understand part of the reason why he does that. It's because Bo Nix, the downfield thrower, leaves something to be desired. And that's why I've been saying the last 2 weeks, I think Sean Payton is coaching Bo Nix correctly as a thrower. I think he knows what Bo Nix needs to work on, or he knows what he would like Bo Nix to be able to do, and he's kind of reining it in and saying, all right, I try to dial up these long pass plays, and we have to be fair to the situation. Bo Nix continues to not be able to consistently hit deep throws. That's one thing you can say at this point that Russell Wilson has over Bo Nix is the moon ball. Bo Nix, not great at the moon ball. So Sean Payton is going, all right, we're going to run the screen game. We have a Marvin Mims. We have RJ Harvey. We have Tyler Bidet, as he mentioned, some Evan Ingram, some guys that we can run screenplays for that might be able to make guys miss or break tackles. And the Broncos did hit a few of them. But it's like, take a couple of those a game. And I don't know what the magic number is, but take just this week against the Dallas Cowboys, take a couple of those screenplays that you have in your head and turn them into designed runs. I don't know if it actually works like that with the play caller, because you have to, base it on what the defense is showing you. But essentially, that's the trade-off that I think many people would take. A few less of the screen passes and a few more runs. Some way, somehow. Maybe you don't get there directly by swapping one for the other, but you take out a couple of screens, maybe you replace them with these other kind of plays, and then with the extra plays that you have available, you go to the run. It's a balance that Sean Payton has to strike. But it just seems like quarter one, it's him. And quarter two to quarter four, it's less and less. Quarter one is the most Sean Payton. Quarter two, a little bit less Sean Payton. Quarter three, a little bit less Sean Payton, a little bit more Bo Nix. Fourth quarter, forget all of this. Bo, do your thing. Can't that work in quarters 1, 2, and 3? It would be a fascinating experiment, at the very least, for Sean Payton to try and do that. And even he acknowledges what a weapon Bo Nix can be running the football. He keeps acknowledging it. And yet it just doesn't seem like he's hit that sweet spot in terms of keeping them effective, keeping the opposing defense guessing while utilizing Bo's legs. And here's another part of Sunday as well. It's not just running Bo Nix, it's running, period. Right? What were the two catalysts on the Broncos side of the ledger? Obviously, the Giants with missed extra points and interceptions, and an interception certainly had those. But for the Broncos, what got the offense going? It wasn't just Bo Nix using his legs. It was running J.K. Dobbins. It was the run game in general. Bo Nix is a part of that. He's the highest profile part of that, but he's not even the guy that should be. Nobody's thinking Bo Nix should be the leading rusher for the Denver Broncos. But you got Bo Nix being a rusher as an extension of the run game, which, again, is supposed to be the identity of this football team. And I don't know about you, I didn't see a lot of the Broncos trying to run in the first three quarters. And it seemed like part and parcel with Bo Nix using his legs, more commitment to run J.K. Dobbins, more of J.K. Dobbins also helped get the Denver Broncos rush game going. But I think Sean Payton's starting to pick up on what's being said. And I think that's why he got a little bit short with the reporter. He hears things. And I think he's starting to become a little defensive about the way he's coaching Bo Nix. 719-247-1313. More Drive Time Sports after this. Here's your latest national keyword for the 5K a day. It's your chance to win $1,000. Just text the national keyword FAST, FAST, to 95819, and you'll be entered to win. And it's something we do Monday through Friday, 5 times throughout the day. It's not just during this show. It's during Dan Patrick's show, Rich Eisen show, Jim Rome show. So just to be safe and to maximize your opportunities to win $1,000, just be listening all day here on Extra Sports 1300 for the 5K a day. Let's take some of your thoughts on today's topics. Dre Greenlaw suspended for Sunday. That has been upheld. So no Dre Greenlaw for the Denver Broncos going up against maybe the best offense in the National Football League. This from the 719, though. Eagles team, Dave says, Eagles team that lost to the Giants is better than the Cowboys defense. I think it's a lack of film on Dart that has given the Giants an advantage. He'll plateau sooner or later, and he has, in parentheses, December. Now, that's the other. I do believe that that's the case with Jackson Dart because I think you're seeing it with Bo Nix a little bit, which is why this additional attribute of being able to run the ball with Bo Nix is so important. Because I do think that Bo Nix is kind of getting figured out. And Jackson Dart's day will come as well, as it does with all young quarterbacks. And then the question becomes, can they push through it? Can they do something else? Can they learn and go past that and then become a franchise quarterback? So, yeah, you're right. I do think right now Jackson Dart, different dynamic, and perhaps that's what Sean Payton was alluding to a little bit with Jackson Dart. I mean, we know that regardless of how he feels about Russell Wilson, the person in their previous history, he certainly doesn't like the Russell Wilson archetype when it comes to quarterbacks. He likes the skill sets of Jackson Dart a lot more. And yeah, I think the Giants are going to. Well, I mean, they lost on Sunday, right? So I think they're coming back down to earth a little bit and will continue to do so. That's just not a talented roster. As far as Dallas goes, you're right about the Dallas defense. You're right about that. I'm not sitting here trying to strike fear into the hearts of every Broncos fan because the Dallas offense is really good, because it all balances out, because their defense is abysmal. And if the Broncos, whatever it is, whatever it looks like, whether it's Bo Nix using his legs, whether it's the screen game, whether it's deep passes, whether it's more Adam Troutman, less Evan Ingram, more Tyler Bidet, less RJ Harvey, whatever it looks like, it's got to be this Sunday. You know, Bo Nix talked about how difficult the schedule's been. And I think he's right. I mean, you look at it, they've had short weeks. They've gone to London. They chose, their coach chose. So you can't, if you're the Broncos, you can't say too loud how difficult the schedule has been, because the NFL wants to give you a bye week after you played the Jets, and your coach said no. And in fairness to Bo Nix, he hasn't brought this up a lot, brought it up today. It was, through the vein, somebody asked him about, ugly wins, right? These wins being a little weird and all of this kind of stuff. And he talked about how the schedule has been a little bit difficult and maybe kept them from doing some of the things that they expected to do, which I think is fair. You can't keep going back to that well, and you got to only do it once because it was Sean Payton that made them play on Sunday. But fair enough. But that's all done. This isn't a short week. Your opponent isn't getting more time to prepare for you. You're not coming back from London. You're not coming off of a bye week. You're just coming off of a regular old Sunday game. That the result was anything but the schedule's been the same. Right? Maybe there was a London hangover with the Giants game. I allow for that to be part of the conversation here, but given the defense that is coming into Empower Field on Sunday, and given the work week that the Broncos will have, I mean, I feel like Sunday is a game where if it's not going to look great for 4 quarters, it's never going to. Like, I think that, and that's not to say that the Broncos, the Broncos could have another great fourth quarter comeback. It could look like the Giants game or the Eagles game, but that's who then the Broncos are, right? Because this Cowboys defense is awful. And with the problems that Dallas's offense presents to even a defense as good as the Broncos offense should be able to compensate for some of that. So if the Broncos can't make it look decent for 4 straight quarters, then there is no game on the schedule where they're going to be able to do that. There's just none. I saw this graph today. I think Ian Hartitz is his name. It works for a fantasy website. He does these, line graphs. And it showed on one axis, it was the total number of combined yards in a game. And on the bottom, it was the combined number of points in a game. So it's not just one side of the football. It's just your team. In your games, how many yards are there and how many points are there? And there's a bunch of teams. Broncos, as you might imagine, are more on the lower end of things. Why? Because their offense hasn't done anything for 3 quarters, basically the last 3 weeks, and they have a very good defense, so they're going to be on the lower end of the graph there. And then way up at the top, at the very extreme, the most points, the most yards, everything is that Dallas Cowboys star. And he summed it up perfectly in his tweet. The best offenses in the league ranked Cowboys and whoever's playing the Cowboys. If there is a week with all of this conversation regarding if Sean Payton is looking out for the best of Bo Nix and leaning into what Bo Nix does well, or is he trying to fit Bo Nix into this box? All of those conversations, with everything going on, it has to look good on Sunday. Not even going to talk about the result. I would think if the Broncos offense looks really good for an entire 4-quarter game, they probably win. But I'm not even talking about the result. The offense, just by the eyeball test, has to be better quarter 1 through quarter 4 than it has been. Because they're not going to get another opportunity like this going against the Dallas defense with 0 pass rush. Remember the guy that was responsible for their pass rush? He's in Green Bay now. You're at home. You've had a normal week. No excuses. Screen game, deep ball, running Bo Nix, the run game itself. Everything has to look decent on Sunday through 4 quarters, or else it's never going to happen. Because it doesn't get any worse than this Dallas Cowboys defense. And if the Cowboys offense does have success against the Broncos defense, now it's even more of a reason why the Broncos offense has to work, because they're going to have to get into a bit of a shootout with Dak Prescott. I'm not saying I'm incredible. I'm leaning Broncos here on Wednesday, winning that football game. But the fact of the matter is, no Dre Greenlaw doesn't help. The Giants were able to do some of the things, utilize some of the same personnel that Indianapolis did and the Chargers did. And the Cowboys have that personnel too. So I think your point about Jackson Dart and the newness of him and not having the book on him yet, I think it certainly contributed. But you can say this unequivocally. Dak Prescott is a better quarterback than Jackson Dart. And the Dallas Cowboys offense is superior to maybe, I will at least say, every offense the Broncos have faced since Indianapolis. At least that. So it has to be mildly concerning for you if you're a Broncos fan. No Dre Greenlaw, some of the things the Giants were able to do against the Broncos defense. However, here's the good news. Bo Nix, Sean Payton, and that Broncos offense should feast on the Cowboys defense. 719-24-7, 1313. More of your thoughts coming up next. The national keyword for the 5K a day, your chance to win $1,000 is FAST, FAST. Just text that to 95819. Oh, it'll cost you some data messaging rates. You'll get a bounce back letting you know that you entered and you could win $1,000. We're doing it 5 times a day, Monday through Friday. That's why we're calling it the 5K a day here on Extra Sports 1300. Tom asks of this whole Sean Payton, Russell Wilson beef, why is this a big deal? Sean doesn't like Russ for various reasons. He's going to continue to take shots at him. So what? I'm sure Russ takes a lot of shots from New York media about his horrible play. What's the difference? I think you know the difference, Tom. The difference is that Sean Payton is the head coach of a football team and not a paid critic in the New York Post. Sean Payton's job is not throwing shade at his former employees. It's fine that Russell Wilson doesn't like him, and Broncos fans are eternally grateful to Sean Payton that he had the guts to say, no, this isn't working. I'm not going to try to keep making it work with a guy who can't play. But why? I mean, Sean Payton, even if you take him at his word that his comments on Sunday were not about Russell Wilson, there's still enough there over just the couple of years that Russell Wilson has been gone where you go, my God, dude, let it go. Broncos are better off. Peyton's better off. He won. People are saying Russell Wilson's played himself out of the Hall of Fame. Yours truly included. Like, you won that. Why do you keep needing to, in a veiled way, reference Russell Wilson to throw shade at him? If you are the face of a multi-billion-dollar company, it's not becoming of a head coach of a National Football League team. And it's very uncommon. So that's why it's a big deal. Not saying that Sean Payton's animus towards Russell Wilson is not well-founded or he shouldn't have it. It's the public airing of grievances. It's holding on to a grudge like a teenage girl that I think is not a great look for him. There are people in this sports ecosystem whose job it is to critique, to be critical, maybe at times to dog on people, throw shade at people. Sean Payton's job does not require that. Tom says Sean is petty. We all have our flaws, Kaufman. That is true. That is true. But there are some people who are the faces of multi-billion-dollar companies. There are people who are in leadership positions in corporate America and the government and everything like that, that those flaws matter more. That those flaws, even if you have them, again, I'm not faulting Sean Payton for hating Russell Wilson. That's not the issue here. It's him going public with these veiled shots. That is the issue. I got to imagine dealing with Russell Wilson is absolutely exhausting and borderline infuriating. He's not in a position where he's supposed to be letting that part of his mind out. And like you look back to the Nathaniel Hackett stuff. Like, he said it the one time. Again, shouldn't have said it. Made his excuse about lattes. And you didn't hear another word about Nathaniel Hackett. Okay? So, not great from Sean Payton to go after Nathaniel Hackett in the way he did, but at least he only did it once. He keeps landing body blows at Russell Wilson over the last 2 years, and it's not becoming of someone in his position, and it's just not necessary. I'm watching ESPN's version of Inside the NBA right now. And to be fair, right? I know a lot of us were really worried about what the greatest sports show maybe in the history of mankind, what it would look like in the hands of ESPN. It looks identical to TNT. Identical. The graphics are the same. The set is the same. All you see is the ESPN logo instead of the TNT logo. That's it. I have not seen Kendrick Perkins. I have not seen Stephen A. Smith. And so far, so good for ESPN. And this, to be fair, this is what they said it would be. It's Shaq, it's Ernie, it's Kenny, and it's Charles. Shaq was crying, laughing about something as I flipped to it. It's just the ESPN logo instead of TNT. So credit to them for keeping it the same. I just don't want to see Kendrick Perkins make his way onto that set at any point this season. And we'll be good. Speaking of, I guess I'm an old head, and I'm a little bit mad at NBC for doing this. They did a vignette before, and I was talking to you, when all of this was going on. So I saw it after the fact. I did watch the end of regulation with the Rockets and the Thunder, and my son, who is decked out in Luka's shoes this year for basketball, wanted to watch Luka. So we did that. But then I went back and saw some of the lead up stuff that NBC did. And they were interviewing all these NBA players. Tell us the memory of the NBA on NBC, and just this cavalcade of NBA superstars who have no knowledge whatsoever of what the NBA on NBC was. No idea. And I have never felt older in my life. But when I saw the lasers making the peacock, and I heard Round Ball Rock from John Tesh kick in, I was like a kid again. How did this ever happen to where we didn't have the NBA on NBC for years? It was so much nostalgia, and it was intoxicating, the amount of nostalgia, and they did a fantastic job. And that's the thing with NBC. They know how to put on really big events. I don't know that everybody, ESPN, knows how to do that or wants to commit to it. I think it's a commitment. I don't know if they commit to it. NBC does. They do a great job on Sunday Night Football. That feels big. And last night felt really big. Even, not watching all the lead up and the preamble and all that kind of stuff, just watching the game. The presentation was great. The talent that they have with Tirico and Miller, and then on the late game is Noah Eagle and Grant Hill is great. They did such a good job with it, and that song should be. We never should have lost it. We never should have lost Round Ball Rock. So good first night for NBC. And a really good game. The Rockets Thunder game was phenomenal. If I could give you a guess at how the Rockets Thunder game ended, if I told you the Thunder won, how would you say the Thunder won? And you get one guess, and that guess would be, let me guess, SGA free throws. You'd be 100% right. We are back. The NBA is back. Not just on NBC, which is amazing. Not just that Shaq and Ernie and Charles are on. and Kenny, but also the Oklahoma City Thunder are back to being who they were all of yet last year. 2 late free throws in double overtime by SGA wins the game for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, one thing I will say about NBC, are we I've seen a lot of discourse about this today. Is Michael Jordan not an analyst? Like I saw a clip of his interview with Mike Tirico, which, by the way, Michael Jordan could just sit there and recite the alphabet, and I would think it's the most profound thing that is said by any human being ever in the world, in the universe, and throughout all time. Michael Jordan could say literally anything, and I will be transfixed onto my television. But is this what it's going to be? Is it just bits and pieces of a long sit down with Michael Jordan? Like, I'm not saying that he's going to, like, think about it with Gretzky. If you watch the NHL on TNT, you know, Gretzky does go places, but Gretzky's not in there all the time. You know, it's Liam McHugh and it's Ace, Anson Carter. Hey, guys, it's Ace. And it used to be Rick Tocchet, who is now the coach of the Flyers, and then Biz, obviously, who's there, Barkley, and then you get Henrik Lundqvist stops by. So you get these guys, and they're fairly regular, and then Wayne shows up. And to Gretzky's credit, he does go some places, like during, I think, the conference finals and the Stanley Cup final, he'll be there. But like Wayne Gretzky isn't there all the time. He's not traveling to every city. He's a studio guy. So I'm not saying Michael Jordan has to be in Oklahoma City last night, but is that not going to be is he not going to be in the studio? I was under the impression Michael Jordan would, not every week, but Michael Jordan would be on the set with NBC in studio talking ball. Is that not what it is? Is it just this sit down with Mike Tirico? With the first installment being he rented a house and the guy who owned the house wanted him to shoot a free throw? Like, again, fixated. It was the best story I had ever heard a human being tell. But is that literally what this is going to be? Like, I want Michael Jordan to talk about LeBron. I want Michael Jordan to talk about Nikola Jokic. I would be fascinated to find out what Michael Jordan thinks of Nikola Jokic. Like when Wayne Gretzky talks about Cale Makar or Nathan McKinnon or any player, like I take that as that was written on stone tablets and brought down from a mountain somewhere. Like same impact with Michael Jordan. Be waiting with bated breath to see what he has to say. But is he not going to react to what the games are? Because that would be kind of disappointing. Again, I'll watch anything that Michael Jordan is on, but I was expecting more. Have to see if that's actually going to be the case. That would be a bummer. I'll also mention this, and I have a guest on tomorrow who wrote this book called Hollywood Ending. It's about LeBron on the Lakers. Yaron Weitzman. He's going to be my guest tomorrow. We're going to talk about this. LeBron didn't play last night. And a lot of people, you heard Jim Rome maybe earlier with Kevin O'Connor talking about the way that LeBron looked. He did not look happy. He looked like he wanted to get out of there. But what I think this year's going to be, and it may make you happy given the texts I receive from you on a daily basis whenever I invoke the name of LeBron James. I think it is going to be absolutely across the board open season on LeBron James. I think this is going to be the year of chipping away at the facade. Now, it's not to say that people haven't been critical of LeBron. I've been critical of LeBron. You've been critical of LeBron. National people have been critical of LeBron, less so than you and I, but they still have at times. But this is really like, it's okay for everyone. And I think what it is, it's not that this is the last straw, and it's not even the Hennessy, the decision 2.0, which was absolutely a disaster. Why in the world would you do that if you're LeBron James? And I know the answer is money, but why would you do that? It's not that we've reached critical mass with LeBron shenanigans that we're tired of. We've been tired of his shenanigans for a long time. It's because we're getting ready for maybe one of his worst seasons ever. It could be statistically, but I'm talking about health. Like, he's already out with the sciatica. I feel like it's going to be touch and go early. There's going to be a lot of rumors about him maybe getting traded. I just think because the air of invincibility around LeBron James, because no matter how you criticized him, deep down, you're like, but he's amazing. Once he shows that he is a mere mortal on the court, which he already has because he's not on the court, because he's suffering from an old guy injury, quote unquote, now he's vulnerable. Now he's a man. He's not this, oh yeah, but he's LeBron and he's an amazing player. Once that is picked away at a little bit, then everybody starts to dig in. And Yaron Weitzman's book, which I highly recommend, but we'll talk more about it with him tomorrow. Russell Westbrook, there was a quote that was leaked from the book where Russell Westbrook basically called out LeBron's how fake he is, right? The public persona not matching up with the private persona. I don't know that a quote like that would have come out 5 or 10 years ago about LeBron. I don't know if this book would have come out 5 or 10 years ago on LeBron. And once that kind of canary in the coal mine came out, Russell Westbrook, quoted in Yaron Weitzman's book that he was fed up with LeBron's fake behavior, and everybody started to pile on and side with who has been one of the most unlikable NBA stars in Russell Westbrook. When you have everyone on the side of Russell Westbrook, that shows you the shield is down. And I think everyone is going to continue to pile on. You're going to hear more and more stuff. That book is full of these kind of things, but you're going to see open season on LeBron, his legacy, who he is as a player, all of this kind of stuff to a degree that you have never seen before. And I was already thinking it, sensed a lot of it last night and today as people were talking about LeBron and the Lakers. But Yaron Weitzman will be my guest tomorrow. His new book about LeBron in these Laker years. 719-24-7. 1313 will hit the 3 stories that are driving the show right after this. Hello there. Welcome in Wednesday. I almost called today Friday. Wouldn't that be nice? Wednesday edition of the show. Today's been a good day, right? Appreciate you joining me, whether you're listening to the show on air, online, or through the Extra Sports 1300 app, or whether you're watching the show on pretty much any social media platform that exists in the known universe. YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Extra Sports 1300. I do very much appreciate you doing exactly that. If you would like to interact with the show, and I do pride this show on being interactive, you could text or call in at 719-247-1313. Perhaps you have a thought on one of these three stories that just so happen to be driving the show. All right. We'll start with Sean Payton saying it wasn't what it sounded like.
The euphoria, the way that game unfolded, that was strictly about Dart. I mean, and I that was in no way, shape, or form anything that was directed at Russ. So, and I might be able to see how he might perceive that, but coming off that win and watching how he played, yeah, that wasn't any intention at all.
So Sean Payton responding to Russell Wilson's tweet, responding to Sean Payton's comments after Sunday's win. And it seems like Sean Payton is pretty resolute in that. But even if you take him at his word there and say, okay, that time it wasn't about Russ, right? That's the reaction. Okay, that time it wasn't about Russ. But why did people think it was about Russ? Well, one, because you said that you wish that a team made a quarterback change after you played them. That's one. So it doesn't matter whether it's Russell Wilson or any quarterback, you're taking a shot, or it's going to be perceived that way. And then with the history between Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, it amplifies it. And the fact that Sean Payton has seemed to take every available opportunity to take a veiled swing at Russell Wilson. That's why we all arrived at this conclusion. It's not crazy. Russell Wilson feeling that way, me feeling that way, you feeling that way, most of the people who listen to Sean Payton perceiving it that way. It's not crazy because this is not out of character for Sean Payton. It's not out of character for him to be petty. It's not out of character for him to take a veiled shot at Russell Wilson. He has done it numerous times over the years. And I'm not asking for three ghosts to visit Sean Payton while he sleeps tonight, but maybe this is a little bit of a sign that maybe he needs to throttle it back a little bit. Like, I don't think Sean Payton has a problem with being perceived as petty. I don't think he has a problem with that. But I think the way that everybody took this and Russell Wilson biting back something that is so out of character for him, like maybe Sean Payton dial it back. Not asking you to change who you are fundamentally as a human being. Just maybe the next time you think about taking a shot at Russ or taking a shot at Nathaniel Hackett, maybe you just don't. I mean, I hate to sound like a third grade teacher here, treat others the way you want to be treated, but I kind of feel like maybe this should be a sign because of the way the vast majority of people perceive this. And Sean Payton, if you take him at his word, didn't mean it that way. That should bother you a little bit. right? Oh my God, they think that every opportunity I get, I'm taking a shot at this guy. If Russell Wilson is the furthest person from the mind of Sean Payton, maybe choose your words a little bit more carefully. More Sean Payton, as he kind of took aim at the league, took umbrage with the decision, I think that's a better way to put it, that the league made on Dre Greenlaw's suspension, upholding it despite the Broncos' appeal.
It was just prior precedence, that's all. So, yeah, we were clearly in his corner with the appeal. What normally has been a fine ended up being different. So, but again, we can't control that.
So there was the Broncos argument. Not defending Dre Greenlaw's actions, as many people on social media want to do, because Sean Payton and the Broncos know, Dre Greenlaw should know he shouldn't have done that. Regardless of what, not regardless. Given what happened, let's not, there's an extreme case of what happened. If Justin Strnad got punched in the face, okay, now we're having a different conversation. But given what happened, if that was what Dre Greenlaw's issue was, because we don't know that. We don't know for sure that Dre Greenlaw was going after the referee because he pushed Justin Strnad. Because our initial reaction before that video came out was that this is Dre Greenlaw being pissed off about the Riley Moss defensive pass interference that nearly cost the Denver Broncos the game. So we don't know for sure, but let's take it that it was about the push. Still can't do it. And the Broncos aren't arguing that it was okay that he did that. I think the argument that the Denver Broncos are making is, in the past, you haven't punished guys by suspending them for this. It was a fine. And I'll look into it tonight, whether that argument has some legs. But I think that's the main takeaway, outside of obviously Dre Greenlaw not being available for the Broncos on Sunday, is that the Broncos, the crux of their argument was not that Dre Greenlaw was justified, not that Brad Allen should be fired or suspended because he pushed poor Justin Strnad. It was, you don't normally suspend people for this. But the NFL, I don't know, perhaps want to make an example out of Dre Greenlaw, which is something that some power they have in the collective bargaining agreement. When it comes to marijuana, the NFL can't do much about it. But everything else, the NFL can kind of do what it wants. And they felt like with the action itself, what Dre Greenlaw said to the referee, it was a little bit more than perhaps what the Broncos were saying. Hey, you just fined people in the past. But Dre Greenlaw's suspension upheld. He will not be available for the Denver Broncos Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys, who just so happen to have pretty good tight end, pretty good quarterback, and an all-around elite offense. Not great for the Denver Broncos to not have Dre Greenlaw, if they're looking for a big bounce back defensively from what they were on Sunday against the Giants. Let's move to hockey for story number 3.
Keller almost gave it away. Now Gunther picks it up. 2-on-1 here for Utah. Keller throws it towards the net. Back door, and they score. Habs gave possession away at center ice. Somehow it was tapped in past Wedgwood. And Utah gets the overtime win.
4-3 was the final. Altitude Sports, as heard right here on Extra Sports 1300. There are Homer play-by-play people, and then there's Connor McGahey. I love it. Just somehow, some way, through some cosmic force, the artists formerly known as the Arizona Coyotes were able to score a goal on the Avalanche. How could something like this happen in our galaxy? Well, I'll tell you how. And I'll tell you how the Avs lost that game last night. They lost that game because the Utah should still be called Hockey Club defensively plays the Avalanche the way you're supposed to play the Avalanche. You clog up the neutral zone. You kind of take the fight to them. You don't sit back and wait for Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar and Marty Necas to come at you, because by then it's already too late. This Utah team does a good job in the neutral zone, clogging up passing lanes, clogging up skating lanes, being physical. That's how the only way you can beat the Avs. And it forces the Avs to dump and chase and use the forecheck. And the Avs just don't, they have to be kind of coerced into it. They have to be reminded of it. They have to make a point to do it. It's not the way they naturally play. So Utah does a good job of that. And despite what Connor McGahey may be intimating there, they are quite talented and they do have goal scorers, especially the two guys who combined for the game-winning goal, Dylan Guenther and Logan Cooley. So Utah has this blend of, having the right idea against the Avs defensively while also having some dudes that can skate. And the Avs turning the puck over, especially in 3-on-3 overtime with those two skaters on the ice, it's a bad recipe. So that's how they lost the game, but they also could have won it. And that's the other half of last night's story. Early in the second period, Avs up 1-0 in what would surely be the highlight I would have played today had the call stood. Gabriel Landeskog scored his first regular season goal in 3.5 years. And it was a great moment until Utah challenged and won the challenge, and they whistled it offside. And on the video replay, it was clear that a couple of Avs were a little bit slow getting off the ice. So, and they were it wasn't too many men. It was, they had an active player still in the attacking zone on the ice. But here's the kicker. There is another piece of this puzzle that wasn't put into place, because Dylan Guenther of the Utah should be called the Hockey Club moved the puck into his own zone of his own volition. And once that happens, the fact that there is an Av slow to get off the ice does not matter. As long as the Avs have no more than 5 skaters on the ice, that play's not offside anymore. But the official said that there was an act by Valeri Nichushkin that forced Dylan Guenther to do that. Under the rules, making me read the NHL rule book, any action by an attacking player that causes a deflection or rebound off a defending player in the neutral zone back into the defending zone, i.e., stick check, body check, physical contact, a delayed offside shall be signaled by the linesperson. Basically, Valeri Nichushkin doesn't have to bring the puck over the blue line if he hits Dylan Guenther and Dylan Guenther brings the puck over the blue line. That did not happen. So you essentially, when you went to the robots to help you out, which I am not a fan of, I'm not a fan of the robots, and you looked at this super slow-mo, magnified 1 billion times from the Hubble telescope, and you got it wrong. Right? I may not like video replay review in any sport, but at least if you're going to do it, I can acknowledge that I am fighting a losing battle here. At least get the call right. And yes, there's a Gabriel Landeskog angle to this, and what a great story that would have been. And it's just kind of representative of where the Avs are right now. There's not a lot going wrong for them. They still have yet to lose in regulation. So maybe a bit of hyperfixation on that, but it was missed. It was the wrong call, and the Avs should have been up 2-0 and gone on a 2-minute power play for Utah having an unsuccessful challenge. I guess this is not so much about the Avs in hockey club as it should be about my disdain for video replay review. That's really what this is. I just found another opportunity to voice my disdain for the entire system, and I want to burn it down and blow it up like Cyberdyne Systems in Terminator 2. Avs still haven't lost in regulation, though. Things are going pretty well for them. 719-247-1313. Take your thoughts on the three stories that are driving the show next. Sean Payton and I don't agree on everything. And I think we both lament that. We wish that we were on the same page more than we are. But there are the little victories along the way with Sean and I. And this is something that Sean Payton and I are in absolute lockstep about.
He should be in. He's going to get in. And he needs to get in sooner than later.
Sean Payton being asked about Mike Shanahan making it to the next round of cuts, if you will, in his pursuit of the Hall of Fame. I don't want to get into a bigger discussion about how many of these coaches, Schottenheimer, Holmgren, Reeves, the list goes on. I really don't want to do that anymore. Not saying that they aren't Hall of Fame worthy. I mean, some of them I've said are not, but my point is forget everybody else. Like, legitimate, forget everybody else. Do this. Get Mike Shanahan into the Hall of Fame and put an end to all of this nonsense. Like, I'll put it this way: Mike Shanahan is not the only coach in this class, because Belichick's in this class. He's not the only coach in this class that is Hall of Fame caliber, but he is the only coach in this class that is Hall of Fame caliber that I care about right now in this moment in time. We can have a greater discussion. We could look at some of these other names later. Shanahan's been waiting in line because I know the argument is Belichick, even with what's going on at North Carolina right now and how much now Tom Brady is being credited more with the Patriot dynasty than Bill Belichick is. Like, I get all that. The guy's a Hall of Fame coach. No doubt about it. One of the greatest coaches ever. Like, he's that. Okay? And no matter what happens at North Carolina, it's not going to be taken away from him. He hasn't been waiting. Mike Shanahan has. Enough is enough. How obvious does this have to be? How many more of the guys that were under him in Washington have to become successful NFL head coaches before you go, you know what? He kind of gave way to an entire generation of the brightest minds in the NFL. His son, McVay, Raheem Morris, Mike McDaniel, and I get it. Not all of them are cut out to be a head coach, Mike McDaniel, but you can't deny his brain, right? It's just he's not cut out to be a head coach. He's the fun uncle. He's not a dad. At least in the through the scope of the NFL, he is in real life a father. And I'm sure he's a very good one. I would suggest that, maybe he tries to put his foot down a little bit more with his children before they run all over him. And he has a circus in his house the way he does in his organization right now. But, like, how many more of these guys have to pop up? Kevin O'Connell, another one. The guy has the tallest, most lush coaching tree that we have ever seen. And, oh, by the way, won multiple Super Bowls. I don't care about the Hall of Fame case of any of these other guys. Mike Shanahan needs to get in now. This time around, don't wait any longer. Then we can open it up and have some real conversations about Marty Schottenheimer, about Dan Reeves, about all of these guys. I get only one gets in every year. Mike Shanahan should be ahead of some guys. And he hasn't been. And that needs to stop. He needs to go into the Hall of Fame. This is the most no-brainer thing that all of us can get on board with, no matter if you love or hate the Denver Broncos. Everyone acknowledges that Mike Shanahan should be in the Hall of Fame. Like, I mean, this is the Isaiah Thomas diatribe on The Last Dance to the nth degree. Like, Mike Shanahan, I'm sure, is sitting there thinking, I met the criteria for selection. Put him in this time, and then things get then it's like, okay, maybe this guy, maybe that guy. With Shanahan, he is clear cut. He needs to get in right now. And he is on to the next go round. So hopefully he gets into the Hall of Fame. And I'm one, like, look, people get too carried away with who should be in the Hall of Fame from their favorite team. I haven't been a proponent of every single Broncos person getting in. Mike Shanahan might have the best case outside of Elway and Shannon Sharp. I guess Peyton Manning, but just as much of his story was written with the Indianapolis Colts. Gotta put him in. So we're talking about Sean Payton in his comments about Jackson Dart that were perceived as a slight to Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson felt that way. And I just don't think, I think the fact that people thought it was a slight based on previous behavior is not a great look for Sean Payton, and he should not keep taking veiled shots at former players. But I have to be fair, because I am nothing if not fair. What Sean Payton did or did not do on Sunday, whatever you think Sean Payton did, it is definitely not as bad as this from the owner of the New York Jets, Woody Johnson. This is not what you think it is. This is not me. I have given up. This is me tapping out. It's not going to happen for Justin Fields. It's not. Now, if you press me on it, I'm going to get into mismanagement and all this other stuff, how he should have been the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers all last year, all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that that Justin Fields himself was a complete bust, but I can acknowledge it's just not going to happen for this guy. It's just not. But this isn't about Justin Fields. This could be about Tyrod Taylor. This could be about Joe Willie Namath. Sean Payton, if you don't believe what he said today, and you think that he was taking another shot at Russell Wilson, that shot, his repeated shots at Russell Wilson, are not nearly as bad as the owner of a football team trashing his own quarterback. This is worse. This is much, much worse. Why does Woody Johnson feel the need to throw Justin Fields under the bus? He could have just left it at, I have faith in Aaron Glenn, because that's who the question was about. It's about Aaron Glenn. It wasn't about Justin Fields. I believe in Aaron Glenn, and I think he's going to turn it around. Why did he have to bring Justin Fields into it? Probably because he feels that way. But again, lesson of the day, just because you think something doesn't mean it's fit to be spoken aloud. He is your employee. You don't speak in a public forum about your employee in that manner. And also, by the way, even if Woody Johnson is 100% right about Justin Fields, and I'm sure you're listening, nodding your head and saying, I agree with Woody Johnson 100%, and that's fine. Let's also not make the mistake of, forgetting what Woody Johnson's organization has been and why in the world this guy is even being asked about his team turning it around and if they have the ability, because this guy has been one of the worst owners in all of sports. He has been a bumbling fool this entire time. So again, he could be saying this about any quarterback. About Aaron Rodgers when Aaron Rodgers was there. I think didn't he say something about Aaron Rodgers? It's like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. I may agree with what you're saying, but you actually don't know what you're talking about. If you feel like Justin Fields isn't any good and the Jets can't win with Justin Fields as quarterback, you're coming at it from a place of reason. Woody Johnson is swimming with the current. That's what I think Woody Johnson is doing. He's like, how do I curry favor with my fan base? Oh, I'll back Aaron Glenn, but I'll take a shot at Justin Fields. I don't think he knows what good quarterbacking is. But just because I am nothing if not fair. Criticize Sean Payton. What Woody Johnson did is worse. Much, much worse. Justin Fields said he didn't have any plans on going up to press him about what he said. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. That's just what it is. But you just have a choice or not whether those opinions affect you or not. It's not the first time somebody has trashed Justin Fields as the quarterback. Won't be the last. You can't do that if you're the owner. And you just wonder, I go back to Sean Payton's comments a few weeks ago. Right? 20 of the teams in the league have no shot of ever winning anything, not because of their quarterback, not because of their roster or their general manager necessarily or their coach. It's their ownership. Dallas, the Jets, Cleveland, Tennessee, Vegas. Those teams fail because of who's at the very top of the organizational flow chart as much as anybody who is on the field on Sundays. Wouldn't you love to play for the Jets, though, if the owner feels like he can do that? Ooh, I'd love to play. One of the perks, it's like, we can get you tickets to Knicks games. You could sit next to Ben Stiller because I'm watching on television there. Ben Stiller sitting right front row. Where's Timothy Chalamet? Where's Chalamet? More importantly, who's the person that's normally with Timothy Chalamet? Don't see him. We could get you unlimited subway passes, like Empire State Building, anytime you want. You could go up there. A lot of perks of being a Jets player. Oh, and by the way, one of the other perks is that our owner may trash you publicly if you are not playing well. Could you please sign on the dotted line here? What a joke of a franchise. 719-24-7. 1313. More Drive Time Sports after this. Last time I'm going to give you the national keyword for the 5K a day today. It is FAST, F-A-S-T. Text that to 95819 and you could win $1,000. And make sure after you do that, you're listening all day tomorrow for the national keywords for more chances to win in the 5K a day. A couple of your texts before we put a bow on this thing today. This from the 719. I would argue that dealing with Sean Payton is even more infuriating. I said that I'm sure that it was infuriating for Sean Payton to deal with Russell Wilson, and that's some of the emotion behind all of this stuff. Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I think it's wild. Russell Wilson wanted to play for Sean Payton. I mean, we all have the benefit of hindsight. But he wanted to go to New Orleans and play for Sean Payton. And Saints fans are wiping their brow and saying, glad it wasn't us. But like, how could I don't know if Sean Payton ever wanted to coach Russell Wilson. I think, and he said it on numerous occasions, it was the ownership group that drew him to the Denver Broncos. And I think we know now that he wanted the Charger job, but that came open a year later. And so Harbaugh is there and Sean Payton's in Denver. But absent that, what drew Sean Payton to Denver was the ownership group, not getting the chance to coach Russell Wilson. And I'm sure in that was, hey, they trust me implicitly. If I evaluate their guy that they brought in and I say he's not the guy, they're going to back me up on that. So Sean Payton did not come to Denver to fix Russell Wilson. That wasn't the draw. So I don't know if Sean Payton ever really wanted to coach Russell Wilson, but I do know that Russell Wilson wanted to play for Sean Payton. And how could, I know hindsight and all that, but man, could you not have seen how combustible the combination of your personality and his personality and the way you play quarterback and the way he coaches quarterback? I mean, my goodness. But we found out in Denver, bad fit, did not work. And I'm sure both gentlemen, when you give them some true serum, or maybe when they're on the Kay Adams show next, they'll both admit, like, yeah, I really don't like that guy, and I hated working with him. I could see where both would say that and where both would be right. You're both right, Russ and Sean. This coming from Dave, further cementing his belief that the Denver Broncos will have little issue with the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday, despite Dre Greenlaw being out with that suspension. He says Throwback's record is in Broncos' favor as well. Now, I don't believe in such things. I don't believe in the magic of a uniform. But you do set me up for one of the core tenets of who I am as a human being. You heard one early, started the show off. We wield this technology with video replay review, and we screw it up, and we should just not have it. Here's another one of my core philosophies, and it's in the news because the Denver Broncos are wearing their throwbacks against the Cowboys on Sunday, and the Avalanche revealed their latest alternate uniform, which is essentially a throwback to the Quebec Nordiques. The Denver Broncos did good. They are allowed to do this. I encourage this, because it is their history. They are wearing a Denver Broncos uniform on Sunday, and a spectacular looking one at that. The Colorado Avalanche, and I knew it was going to happen, but it came to fruition the other day. They're wearing the jersey of another team. The Quebec Nordiques right now are dead and buried and should be left that way. This is not an anti-Quebec sentiment. This is a pro-Quebec sentiment. The fans there don't deserve to have their wounds opened up and have salt poured in them because the Avalanche are trying to make a quick buck off of the Nordiques. The Broncos are doing it right. They have every right to do this, and they should do this as much as possible. And I will join. I get it. After a while, it wouldn't be as special when the Broncos wear the uniforms. I don't care. They're phenomenal uniforms. They should wear them all the time. But it is their prerogative to wear those. They are the Denver Broncos. Those uniforms are the Denver Broncos. The Colorado Avalanche are the Colorado Avalanche. They got it right the first time. They didn't change their uniform in a worse way like the Broncos have done over the years. They got it right immediately, and they should be proud of that, and they should not be greedy and bring the Quebec Nordiques back into the conversation. They are gone. And what's doubling my frustration is that tomorrow night they're going to wear them, and they're going to wear them against the Carolina Hurricanes, except the Carolina Hurricanes are not wearing Carolina Hurricanes uniforms. They're wearing Hartford Whalers uniforms. Now, two beautiful uniforms, two beautiful sweaters. Love the look of the Nordiques. Love the look of the Whalers. In no way should the Avalanche and the Canes be allowed to wear those sweaters. And look, NHL, I know it goes into the big pot or whatever. You want to profit off of the Nordiques. I don't love it, but at least you're saying the Nordiques. And here's the Avalanche not being the Nordiques wearing them. It's a fine line, I grant you, but it's a line that the Avalanche continue to cross, and I don't like it. Kudos to the Denver Broncos. I wish they wore their throwbacks more because they're phenomenal. Ed Sheeran is sitting courtside at the New York Knicks game. I thought you would want to know that. It's just on my TV. Broncos throwbacks, amazing. Avalanche wearing Nordiques uniforms, bad. And I'm just going to say this in advance of tomorrow night's game. If they lose, I'm not going to say they deserved it, but just saying, wearing the uniform of a failed franchise, it's not good. Should not be doing that. But it is kind of hard to imagine the Denver Broncos losing in those throwbacks because they look so good. So that'll be on Sunday, and I believe it is tomorrow that the Avs and the you won't even know it's the Avs and the Hurricanes. You won't even know where the game is played. You'll be so confused because you'll be like, Hartford's not in the league. Quebec's not in the league. What are they doing playing each other? Well, it's these two greedy organizations trying to profit off the death of a once proud franchise. That's what's going on. And I get it, they moved, but they moved. Profiting off of the pain of a great city. How about that? Hartford, Quebec, they've suffered enough. Let's not open the wounds every year just so you could sell a few throwbacks at the Altitude Authentic shop. Sorry, it's one of my crusades. I have many, as you well know. Coming up tomorrow on the show, a couple of really good guests. Matt Sims from Sims Complete will join me. Great conversation with him last week. I'd be curious his thoughts about Bo Nix. He had some last week. See where he is on Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos and what he thinks of the Dallas Cowboys as well. So Matt Sims will be joining me. And then also, as I mentioned earlier, Yaron Weitzman, who has written a new book about the LeBron Laker years. And if you are rolling your eyes because you're not a fan of LeBron, I will just tell you, having read the book, there is a fair amount of credit given to LeBron James for rescuing a failing franchise, because that's exactly what the Lakers were when he joined up with them. But as you've seen some of the quotes, especially from Russell Westbrook, that are in the book, overall, it doesn't paint LeBron James in a great light either. So your own Weitzman will be my guest as well tomorrow. I hope you'll join me as well for that one. Let me leave you with this. I mean, you know, when something just feels off, like you wake up in the morning or at the end of the day, you're like, I just don't feel like myself. You're tired, your motivation's gone. Maybe you're not performing like you used to at work, at home, or in the gym. It may not just be because you're aging. It may be low testosterone. That's where Synergenics and Low T Center come in. Their testosterone replacement therapy has helped thousands of men feel like themselves again, many of them right here in Colorado Springs. And I've heard guys say it changed their life. And that's what they're doing. Really is. And here's the best part. You could start with a free testosterone test. There's literally no risk. You go in, you get the test, 15, 20 minutes, you get the results, and then you go from there. You don't need it. They're not going to tell you need it. Don't let this be another thing you keep putting off. The best version of you is still there. Bring it out by going to trtmvp.com. That's trtmvp.com and book your free test today with Low T Center. It's been my pleasure to serve you. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll catch up tomorrow at 3. How's that sound?